Omayanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshormritanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we are continuing with our reading and discussion of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We are coming to the start of chapter 2, as I recall. And welcome to all of our beautiful Vaishnavas and seekers gathered here today. So I'm going to start our screen share. So as we recall, right, Arjuna's in lamentation, right? He's facing this very difficult task of having to fight a battle, which has many of his beloved friends and family members on the opposing side, right? What a difficult situation. And at the end of our meeting last week, we were expressing our sympathy for Arjuna's position. And we had some really interesting reflections coming out about how, you know, there's this moment that we'll all face at different periods in our lives where we have a difficult duty that we have to take up, which will cause discomfort for others, but which nevertheless we are obliged to carry out, right? In order to establish righteousness, at times we may have to cause discomfort to others, but those with a Vaishnava heart, with a saintly heart, they feel a reluctance about that, right? We feel reluctant to cause pain to others, even if it is necessary, you know, for their own development and for the betterment of the environment, right? And so this is more or less the situation that Arjuna is facing, right? He doesn't want to engage in warfare, but it is for establishing the Dharma. There's some necessity for that. So there's this reluctant duty, right, that we may face at different times in our lives. So anyhow, Arjuna is blessed to have Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Lord, as his chariot driver. And he's expressed his doubts to Lord Krishna. And one other nice reflection, you know, as we're beginning our journey again in Bhagavad Gita, we can remember is that Arjuna, he chose to have Krishna as his confidant and his friends in the battle, because some of you who've been through Mahabharata will recall that Arjuna had a choice, right? There was this moment when it became clear that war was unavoidable, right? That this battle between, you know, evil and, you know, goodness, or however you want to frame it, the light and the dark, right? That when it became inevitable, right? This is what has to take place between these two groups of cousins, right? The Pandavas and the Kauravas. And they both went to request Krishna to support their side, because everyone knows how powerful Krishna is. But so there was this interesting moment. Krishna's resting, and Arjuna and Duryodhana, they arrived at more or less the same time. I think Arjuna arrived first. Right? Maybe someone can say exactly what happened, but they more or less arrived around the same time, and Arjuna was given the first pick. I think it was that maybe Duryodhana came first, but he stood, I can't remember, maybe someone else, maybe Chintamani can remember exactly. Do you remember, Chintamani? Exactly. Do you remember that moment?
Can you repeat the question? I was distracted because Jai David just brought me some prasada.
Oh, there's Jayadev. Jayadev, you'll remember, I think. You know that moment when Duryodhana and Arjuna, they both arrived to request Krishna's support in the battle. And do you remember the exact details of how it played out? Like one of them stood at his head and one stood at his feet.
Well, and we know for sure Arjuna was at the feet. So
right.
Duryodhana was at the head, and that's symbolic, right? Super symbolic.
Right.
But then what's interesting is when Krishna first opens his eyes, he's not going to see above his head. He's going to see his feet because he's laying down. I think that I remember that.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then I think Duryodhana might have arrived first.
I think
Krishna saw Arjuna first.
I think you're right. And I think that Duryodhan got the choice and he made the material,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, that's the main point I was
spoiler.
coming to. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So I believe it was like that. Or Duryodhana arrived first, but because he stood at Krishna's head, which is actually, if you're coming to seek, in the Vedic culture, you stand at their feet if you're requesting mercy from someone, right? So Arjuna came a little later, but he stood at the feet. And then when Krishna woke up, he saw Arjuna first. And so he gave Arjuna the first choice, because they both wanted to ask Krishna for help in the battle. But what Krishna said was that I personally will not fight in the battle, because that would be unfair, like to have God fight on your side, that's just unfair, right? So what Krishna said was, one side I'll give my army to, and the other side can have me, but I won't fight. You can have me like as an advisor in some capacity, but I won't personally fight. But you'll have me. And then he gave the first choice to Arjuna. And Arjuna is the devotee, right? And he said, Krishna, I just want you. I just want to have you by my side. And he was very happy with that. And meanwhile, Duryodhana thought that was a very foolish choice. And he was happy he could have Krishna's armies, right? He thought that was the more intelligent choice. So as Jayadev's saying, Arjuna had the spiritual choice, made the spiritual choice. Duryodhana made the material choice. And they were both happy. And I really appreciate, that the way that played out, because it illustrates how the Lord ultimately gives us all what we want, right? Duryodhana just wanted like material strength and power, and he was happy. And Arjuna made the apparently weaker choice, but he had Krishna, his beloved Lord, at his side, and that was all that he wanted, and he was happy, right? And then Krishna made that very sweet and humble decision to act as the chariot driver of his devotee, which is inconceivable. He's like the taxi driver, the chauffeur for his own devotee. Very sweet, very charming, loving position for the Lord to take. So here we are, right? Fast forward, we're here in just about, this war's about to begin. And so Arjuna has Krishna by his side, right? And so he's expressing his doubts and puts down his weapons. He's got tears in his eyes, and he's turning to Krishna for some counsel. Now, how will I proceed, Krishna? I don't see any point. I don't see any use in engaging in this battle. And I did see that Narottam had his hand raised. Did you still want to say something, Narottam?
Oh no, you said it. I was just going to say that. Yeah, it was Narayan saying that. Yeah. When Krishna opened his eyes, he saw Arjun first at his feet.
Okay. So you remember that too. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right, and welcome. We've had a few more friends joining. Welcome everyone to our Bhagavad Gita session. You're just in time. So here we are. Arjuna is expressing his doubts, and now we're going to hear how does Krishna respond. So we're beginning at chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, the constitution of the soul. So let's go and hear our Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj chanting these verses as we have been doing.
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवारादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता द्वितीयोध्याय शंख योग। संजय उवाच तंग तथा कृपयाविष्टमश्रुपूर्णाकुलेक्षणम् विषीदन्तमिदं वाक्यमुवाच मधुसूदनः श्रीभगवानुवाच कुतस्ताकस्मलमिदं विषमे समुपस्थितम् अनार्यजुष्टमस्सर्गम् आकृत्तिकरमर्जुन क्लैप्यङ्गमासमगमः पार्थ नैतत्तज्जुपयुज्यते क्षुद्रं हृदयदौर्बल्यं तत्तुत्तिष्ठ परन्तपः अर्जुनोवाच कथं भीष्म अहं संख्ये द्रोणं च मधुसूदन ईशुभिः प्रतिजोत्स्यामि पूजार्हावरिसूदन गुरुन् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं भैक्षमपीह लोके हत्वार्थकामांस्तु गुरुर्नियहैव भुञ्जीय भोगान् रुधिरप्रदिग्धान् न चैतद्विद्मः कतरन्नो गरीयो यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयु यानेव हत्वा न जिजीविषाम तेव स्थिताः प्रमुखे धातराष्ट्राः कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसङ्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं साधिमां प्रपन्नम् न हि प्रपश्यामि ममानुपद्यात् यच्छोकमुच्छोषणमिन्द्रियाणाम् अवाप्य भूमाव शपथनमृद्धं राज्यं सुराणामपि चाधिपत्यम् संजय उवाच एवमुक्ता ऋषिकेशं गुडाकेशः परन्तपः न जुत्स इति गोविन्दमुक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः तमुवाच ऋषिकेशः प्रसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विषीदन्तमिदं वचः
All right, then let's chant these verses ourselves. It's good for us to try to vibrate with ourselves. Jayade, do you feel like leading us in the Sanskrit today?
Yeah.
Chintamani was just asking me what meter the second to the last one was, and I was listening subconsciously. I think that was Trishtu, but I'm not sure. I'll
Do
try.
you know the names of all these different meters?
Not all of them, but the popular ones. Anushtup is the you know that one. Trishtup is the which you those two you hear in the Gita.
Okay.
Okay. Sanjay Uvacha. Oh, I should get my readers.
So everyone, we can also follow, perhaps with our mics off, but it's good for us all to vibrate these divine sounds.
Sanjay Uvacha Tam Tata Kripaya Vishnam. Nope. Ashtu Purana Kulekshanam Vishidantam Midam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudanaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalam Midam Vishame Samupastatam Anarya Joshtam Asvar. No, it's okay, sweetie. Asvargyam Akiriti Karamarjuna Klebhyamma Smagama Partha Naitat Tvayupapadyate Kshudram Hridaya Daurbalyam Tyaktvatishta Parantapa Arjuna Uvacha Katam Bhishma Maham Sankhye Dronam Cha Marusudana Ishubhi Pratiyotsyami Pujarhavari Sudana. All right, here's the one that she was at. Ooh, this one might be a little different. Gurun Hatvahi Mahanu Bhavan Shreyo Bhoktam Bhiksham Api Haloke Hetvarta comma. No, I think it's it. Never mind. Guruna hatvahi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhayikshamapi haloke hatvarata kamams tu gurun nihaiva bhunji bhogan rudhira pradigdhan na chetadvidmah kataran nagriyo Yadva jayema adivano jayeyu yaneva hatvana chejivashamas tevastata pramukhe dhartarashtraha karpanya doshotpat dashotpahata swabhava Prichhami tvam dharma samudha chetaha Yachreya syanischitam bruhitam me Shishyasteham shadhi mam tvam prapannam. Oh, sweet. Nahi prapashyami mama punudyad Yachchoktam uchchoshanam indriyanam Avapya bhumavasapat Namridham Rajyam Suranam Apichadhipatyam. Sanjay Uvacha Eva Muktva Hrishikesham Gudakesha Parantapaha Yahna Yotsya Iti Govindam Uktva Tushnim Bhuvaha Twamuvacha Hrishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata Senayorubhayor Madhye Vishedantam Idam Vachaha.
All right, thank you, Jaidev. Shama Gopal Prabhu, do you want to read the English for us?
With Sanjaya right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Sanjaya said, the Supreme Lord Madhusudan then spoke to saddened Arjuna, whose heart was filled with pity, his eyes brimming with tears. The Supreme Lord said, "O Arjuna, how has such illusion overcome you at this crucial moment? This does not befit an Aryan, and it leads not to heaven but to infamy. O son of Kunti, give up this cowardice, for it does not befit you. O great hero, cast off this petty weakness of heart and arise for battle." Arjuna said, "O Madhusudan, slayer of the enemy, how can I counterattack, shooting arrows at venerable Bhishma and my teacher Drona, who are worthy of my worship? It is better to live in this world and beg, without taking the lives of our noble elders and teachers. Otherwise, by killing them, we shall remain in this world only to enjoy their wealth and possessions tainted with their blood. I cannot understand which will be better, victory or defeat. For if we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, who now stand before us on the battlefront, we shall not wish to live. Now I am bewildered. What is my real duty? I am losing heart and distraught. So please tell me clearly, what is the best course of action to take? I am your surrendered disciple. Please instruct me. Even if we gain an unrivaled, flourishing kingdom on earth and sovereignty over heaven, I see nothing to dispel my debilitating grief." Sanjaya said, "Thus the valiant, vigilant Arjuna spoke to Krishna, who is Rishikesh, the Lord of the senses of all beings. Then he declared, 'Govinda, I will not fight,' and fell silent. O Bharat, there amidst the armies, Sri Rishikesh, smiling, spoke thus to the grief-stricken Arjuna."
All right, thank you, Shama Gopal Prabhu. So Arjuna is expressing something more of his doubts. And he's, from a human perspective, he's making strong argument. We can all sympathize with him, his lack of, materialistic, aggressive approach, right? He's making, he's expressing humble, compassionate statements. And for those who are not familiar with Bhagavad Gita, you'll see in different places, Krishna is referred to by different names, Arjuna is referred to by different names. So Madhusudan is a name for Krishna here. Sanjaya is giving the narration. And this word Aryan, I think most of you are familiar with the origins of this word. It is a word that Hitler unfortunately appropriated, but originally it's a Vedic term. It refers to a very noble person who's an upright follower of the Vedic religion and culture. So this is the word that is being used here. And what else here? Arjuna is expressing more of his doubts here. And now here, this is the verse I wanted to focus in on. This is a very important verse, and it's one that is fairly well known, and we'll hear quoted by our guru sometimes. And really, this verse is where it begins. This is where the conversation actually begins. Why? Because this is where Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. Right? It's a very beautiful moment, right? Because Arjuna is expressing how he sees things. Arjuna is expressing his own interpretation of the environment. But at the same time, he's recognizing the limitations of his own vision, his own feeling, his own experience, his own knowledge. And he's leaving himself open to receive a higher interpretation of the environment. He's opening himself up to act according to a higher vision, which he doesn't actually have at present, right? And this is surrender. This is exactly what surrender is. And this is the start of actual spiritual life, right? And I often like to bring in here the example of our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj. Our Gurudev's life is like a living illustration of all these like key spiritual principles. And this is how he began, right? And the very first day, not even the first day, the first moment that our Gurudev came to join his guru's mission, 17-year-old boy, his guru, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, asked him, "Can you follow me and not your mind?" This is the beginning of spiritual life. This is the moment of surrender. This is the moment of opening ourselves to spiritual experience. This is the moment of transcending our human limitations, right? By following the directives that come from a higher plane. It's like using the GPS on your map, right? You're entering unknown territory. You just got to trust your GPS. You got to trust your map, right? So this is what's happening right here. And this is the real starting point of Bhagavad Gita. So he's saying Arjuna's, and we remember, right? Like the background of Bhagavad Gita, it's a setup. It's not about a battle that took place so many thousands of years ago. And it was a moment within the, the society of India, whatever, right? But that whole background, it's a setup. It's creating a reason for this divine conversation, which is an instruction for all of us, right? So as we were reflecting in our recent meetings, right, the real battle's within, right? The real battlefield is within our own hearts, right? And this is all just a background. This is all creating a stage for this conversation to take place. So just think, like, how many moments in our lives, crucial moments, do we have this feeling? What Arjuna is expressing here, I'm bewildered. I don't know how to understand the environment. I don't know how to interpret the environment. This person's saying this, and that person's saying this, and my boss is saying that, and Google's saying this, and the news is saying that, right? My mom's saying that, my neighbor and my coworkers, right? We're bewildered, and my senses are telling me this, and my mind is telling me this, and my previous experience is telling me something else, right? How bewildering. What a bewildering situation. We all experience this in our lives from time to time, maybe often, maybe every day, right? I'm confused. I'm bewildered. I don't know what interpretation is the most reliable, right? Should I go with what Wikipedia says? Should I go with what the latest Instagram influencer says, right? Or the latest hotshot guru on YouTube? Yeah. So it's bewildering, right? What my grandma told me when I was 10 years old. So I am bewildered. The environment is bewildering. What is my real duty? I am losing heart and distraught. So please tell me clearly what is the best course of action to take. Right? This is gold, right? And in a perplexing, bewildering environment, to find a real, reliable source of knowledge, this is gold. That is our prime need, actually. To have a lens, a reliable lens by which we can properly assess what's actually going on and what is actually my duty, if any. This is gold. Especially, like, if you think about it, in this modern age, it's the age of information, right? And that's a blessing, but it's also a curse, right? You know, it's like it's not just one or two. There's millions, you know, hundreds, thousands, millions of different courses of actions that are being advised by so many different schools of thought, past and present, right? So it's very bewildering. So to have a reliable source of knowledge, this is gold. Then you're halfway there. You're halfway there. Just to have someone or some source of knowledge which we can approach with some confidence, knowing, you know, they know what is what, from the highest level of vision, the highest interpretation. Because this is another point, like many different interpretations about the environment that come before us, it's not that they're all necessarily wrong. Some of them may just be outright wrong, but it's that for the most part, they're of limited value. They're of temporary value for temporary partial application, right? Relative value. This is the word that we like to use. Relative truth and absolute truth. So some of these interpretations, they have value at a certain time and place and up to a point, right? But ultimately what we're seeking is absolute truth, permanent truth of eternal value for our eternal welfare. So this moment in Bhagavad Gita is so profound. Like, we can just like sit with this for a moment. Arjuna is overwhelmed by his own interpretation of the environment. But at the same time, he's recognizing how limited it is. And he's recognizing that there's a higher vision, there's a higher interpretation. And so everything that he's holding, this whole, it's like Srila Sridhar Maharaj refers to this as a black box, you know, like he compares the ego to this black box, you know, that they keep on airplanes and other vehicles that's recording everything that takes place, right? Our whole ego, the whole world of our experience, our preconceptions, it's like this kind of black box. It's a record book. So Arjuna is taking his whole black box and setting it aside. He's recognizing, he's like acknowledging his experience. He's not denying his experience. He's acknowledging his experience, but he's also recognizing its limitations. And he's setting it aside. And he's putting his head at Krishna's feet and saying, Krishna, but what do you think? That's a very powerful moment of surrender. This is what I think, but I know this is only partial. What do you think, my Lord? What is your version? I'm ready to surrender to that. And then this final line, this is very powerful. Shishashteham shadi mam tvam prapanam. Please instruct me. I am surrendered to you. I am ready to receive and to act according to what higher knowledge, higher interpretation you present to me. So this is a very key moment in Bhagavad Gita. So let's see how Krishna responds. And then this is one of my favorite lines. I was mentioning this in one of our recent meetings, right, where this like juxtaposition is being presented, this contrast. Arjuna is in lamentation, the grief-stricken Arjuna. And meanwhile, Krishna, he's smiling. He's smiling. And it's very beautifully illustrating, right? When we're in spiritual consciousness, we're connected with the whole, with the absolute, with the positivity, with the potentiality of everything. And so it's optimistic. When we are seeing things with spiritual vision, necessarily it is of an optimistic nature. But when we're seeing things with material vision, necessarily it is pessimistic. Why? Because anything of a material nature is temporary. It's limited. It has a lifespan. It's mortal, and it's only pertinent to a very limited degree, right? So one will be in lamentation. If not now, eventually. It is inevitable. We can't avoid it. So this is a very beautiful juxtaposition that's being made here in this verse, right? Krishna is smiling, Arjuna is crying. So let's continue. Does anyone here want to make any comments or questions before we go on to the next 10 verses? And welcome. We had a few others join. Angel's here, Mukunda, Ishwar, Ananda Prabhu, and a few others also. Okay, shall we continue then? We'll go on to the next 10 verses.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Asachannan Sochattang Praggavadangscha Bhasase Gatasuna Gatasungscha Nanu Sochanti Pandita Nattevahang Jatunasang Nattang Neme Janadhipaha Na Chaivangana Bhavisama Sarve Bhayamata Param Dehino Simini Jatha Dehi Kaumara Vanang Jara Tatha Dehantara Praptir Dhirastatra Namuchati Matra Sparsastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukudukkada Agama Payino Nitastang Titikhasva Bharata Jangihina Bhatayante Te Purushang Purushar Sama Dukkha Sukhang Dhirang Somritataya Kalpate Na Satu Viddate Bhavo Na Bhavo Viddate Sata Uvayorapi Drishtantas Tanayos Tattadarshivi Avinashitu Tadviddhi Jena Sarva Midang Tatam Vinasham Abhaya Shasya Na Kaschit Kartumarhati Antabanta ime deha nikta shokta saririna anasino prameyasya tasmad juddhasya bharata joynang betya hantarang jaschainang mannate hatam ubhautau na vijanito nayang hanti na hannate न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अयो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
All right. Jaidev, will you chant those verses for us again?
All right. Engaging me in the Yuga Dharma.
Oh, we're so happy to hear your beautiful chanting.
Uh,
So let's see how Krishna responds. Oh, well, we're still in the Sanskrit.
hey, wait. Those of us who know it can,
That's right. If you know, you know.
we could feel it too. I don't. Anyways,
You know,
I love these. Oh,
I was really noticing. I've been noticing more and more how Srila Govinda Maharaj, he's like vibing the verses so much. I can't think of a better way to say it, you know. But he's he's speaking his own. It's like he's speaking. Like you hear the conversation playing out. You know, it's not like he's just chanting the verses, but he's like living it. You know, it's like really
he's not
like
reciting
that.
it. He's actually speaking it almost like, not informally, but like as if he's actually speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'll notice, like I started noticing, like when Arjuna's asking a question, you hear Gurudev like with that lilt, like it's a question, you know, like he's following the intonation, like it's a conversation. He's just with it. He's very present with what's being described, you know. It's incredible. So yeah, something for everyone to listen out for when you're hearing. This is what's so cool about repetition when you're approaching divine substance, because there are so many layers and they'll start to unfold. Like the more you're paying attention and some grace is coming, then these layers start to reveal themselves. So like with Gurudev, you know, it's like there are so many layers to his chanting. His verse. Okay, please, Jayadev, lead us. I'm gonna mute myself and follow.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochananvashocastvam Prajnavadanscha bhashase Gatasun agatasonscha Nanusho panditaah Na tvevaham jatunasam Na tvam neme janadhipaah Na chaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayam atah param Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantarah praptir dhirastatra namuhyati matras prashastu kaunteya shitoshna sukaduhkadah agamapayano nityas tam titikshasva bharata yam hina Vyetantyete purusham purusharashabha samadhuka sukham dhiram somrittatvaya kalpate na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate satah ubhayorapi drashthuntas tvannayostatta darshibhihi Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya na kaschit kartumarhati antavanta ime deha nityas yokta sharirana anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata Ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. Ajayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitava na bhuyah ajo nitya shasvatayam purano na hanyate hanyamani sharire.
Jai, thank you, Jayadev. Marie, would you mind being voluntold to read the English.
There, now I'm unmuted. Now I can do it. All right. The Lord said, oh, we get to start with my favorite one.
The Lord
said, O Arjuna, you are lamenting for that which is unworthy of grief, yet speaking words of wisdom. The wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Never was there a time when you or I or all these kings did not exist. Just as we exist in the present, so have we existed in the past and shall continue to exist in the future. As the living being passes through the bodily changes of childhood, youth, and old age, it similarly attains another body at death. The wise are not deluded by this. O son of Kunti, the engagement of the senses with their objects produces the sensations of cold, heat, pleasure, and pain. But these effects are temporary. They come and go. Therefore, O Bharat, you must endure them. O noblest of men, the wise man who is equipoised in pleasure and pain and undisturbed by sense experiences is alone qualified for immortality. Of the asat, destructible objects such as the mutable body and associated phenomenon, there is no eternal existence. Of the sat, eternal object, the soul, there is no destruction or change. The nature of each has been realized by the seers of the truth. Know that the soul, by which the entire body is pervaded, is indestructible. No one can destroy the imperishable soul. The soul is said to be eternal, indestructible, and immeasurable. Only these physical bodies are subject to destruction. Therefore, fight, O Bharat. Those who think the living being slays and those who think it is slain are ignorant of the true nature of the soul, for the soul neither slays nor is slain. The soul is neither born nor dies. It has neither been nor will it be created, because it is unborn and eternal. It is ever youthful, yet ancient. It is not destroyed when the body is destroyed.
All right. Thank you, Marie. So Krishna is starting out with the basics here, right? This is like the spiritual ABCs, that you are soul. And I like this line here, this Krishna's first response, because he's saying like, you're talking like a wise man, right? You're like using all these big words and expressing all these noble sentiments, but you're missing out like fundamental issue here, right? That we're not this body, right? And you're lamenting ultimately for that which is unworthy of grief, because those with spiritual vision recognize this body is just a temporary cover, it's just a shell. So the eternality of the soul. And this is, we could also say, you know, this is one of the beautiful things about Gita, that it's very unifying, right? In the sense that it unifies as Srila Sridhar Maharaj expressed it so beautifully in his introduction, like all spiritual ranks, they're all unified by the message of Bhagavad Gita, right? Because we find in the Vedas, there are so many different conceptions, right? And we ourselves have our own very particularly refined line of truth which we are following. And many of these different conceptions in the Vedas, on one level, they're contradictory to one another. But on this point, everyone is in agreement, right? That we are all Atma, we are all soul, we are all eternal spiritual beings. Right? What exactly is the highest attainment of the soul? What are the different paths by which that may be achieved? There may be some different opinions on that. But the fact that we're not this body of flesh and blood, that everyone agrees on that point, right? And this is the very foundation of everything. And unless you can accept this, none of this will mean anything. That's another point. Like our whole discussion is only relevant if you realize this truth, right? And what was the case with Socrates, right? He was like his whole talk on the eternal existence of the self was threatening the hedonistic lifestyle, right, of his contemporaries. Like, because this is actually a threat to a certain mode of living, right? Like, what's that? What is it? YOLO, you only live once. This whole ideology is a serious threat to that mode of living. Right? So this is only meaningful if you have realized, or you can understand this in theory at least, that we are not just these bodies. That is not the end when the brain shuts down, right? And if you have realized that, all of this becomes incredibly not just relevant, but will be an urgent, one may feel in an urgent way how necessary this is, right? And we hear Srila Sridhar Maharaj tells of that, of this occasion, right, when we're kind of coming to the end here. Srila Sridhar Maharaj tells of that occasion when he was preaching in, perhaps it was in South India, and he was trying to collect some money for their mission. And yes, it was in South India. And he approached some local leading, like some local governor or something, asking for their support. And this man, this gentleman, he said, like, you don't even speak our language, which is a fair enough point. It's like, we're all Tamil speakers here. You don't even speak our language. You know, like, what do you know about our culture and who we are? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj responded, you know, saying that this is such an urgent matter. You must understand. And he gave this wonderful analogy, like if someone's drowning, if I see that someone's drowning in a local river, you know, am I going to go learn the local language first and then see how I can save him? Like, and he says, no, I will go and immediately try and round up some help. And if I don't know how to speak the language, I'll make some gestures, I'll make some expressions, or some way or in some way or another, I'll try to convey to them what the situation is. Because this guy's drowning, he's about to die. It's an urgent matter. So when our soul starts to wake up a little bit, we may feel this in that way. Right? Not like this is something to sit around and have a chat about sometimes, you know, around the fireplace with our cup of tea, you know, as we do. But, you know, there's this one verse saying that, you know, one who's suffering in material existence, they should run to the shelter of Guru. And the same way as someone with their head burning on fire will run to a body of water. Right? So, you know, most of the time we're not feeling that. There may be moments in our lives when we feel that type of urgency. We're blessed with that realization. And that's reality, right? That's reality. You know, we hear of that moment when our Param Guru, our grandfather Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj, this was the decisive moment when he decided to take shelter at the feet of his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He'd been associating for about a year with his guru's mission, the Gaudiya Math. And then there was this one big celebration, the Gaur Purnima celebration. And it's at the end of this week-long celebration, everyone's coming and giving their respects to Saraswati Thakur and then leaving. And our Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he heard from some distance, Saraswati Thakur was saying to the people, don't cheat me. Right? Don't cheat me. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very puzzled. Why is he saying that? We had a festival, everyone came for the festival. Now the festival's over and everyone's going home. Where's the question of cheating? So he moves in closer to hear more. And Saraswati Thakur is explaining, you know, you all came here and entered into agreement that you will engage in the service of Krishna. And now you're all leaving and you're going to forget that agreement, that promise. You've made a promise. You've come here and made a promise that you will serve Krishna. And now you are all going to forget that, right? And then he continued saying that, and you may say to me that, oh, there's a fire I need to put out at home. I'll go put it out and I'll come back. And then Saraswati Thakur said, but I will say to you, even if the whole world is on fire, still nothing is more urgent, nothing is more necessary than the spreading of Krishna consciousness. And all your needs, all your wants, they will all be satisfied only in that Krishnanushilanam, cultivation of Krishna consciousness. And when Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he heard that from Saraswati Thakur, it completely captured him. And he felt, nowhere in this world will I find this kind of earnestness. I must throw my head here. And that was the deciding moment when he decided that he would join. And Saraswati Thakur also famously made that expression that he said, I don't recognize any famine in this world, right, other than the famine of Krishna consciousness, lack of Krishna consciousness, lack of spiritual vision. That is the only thing that is lacking. Only that. Even in a very practical way, we can see that, right? That what is really necessary in this world is a revolution of consciousness. Because one can clean up everything in the world, right? One can make all changes in the world, but without addressing the consciousness, it'll all be the same again in a few years, right? So even if one doesn't have faith in these teachings, in a very practical way, one can see what is required is a revolution of consciousness. And this Krishna consciousness is giving the highest, right, explanation. What is that revolution? What is that highest consciousness? So here at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, right, we're being given this foundational understanding. Because if you don't understand, believe that, the value of that, nothing else is relevant. This is the first point, to understand that we are eternal beings. This current body, this current mind, this current ego, our very sense of identity at present is all temporary. So what's the real conversation, right? What's the real conversation? That's the question. What's relevant for our soul, to our eternal self, right? This is the real beginning. So it's important that this is the first point that is made in Bhagavad Gita. Then everything else becomes meaningful. Otherwise, it may just be like some nice philosophy, right? You can also approach it like that. But you're missing out, you're missing out on this profound gift of Bhagavad Gita. Well, it's been a wonderful meeting and all of your good association. Does anyone want to share any final thoughts, comments, questions, reflections before we close for today?
Dandavat, Vishakha Didi. I would like to say something. Thank you so much for a very lively this lecture and expression. I don't know, I go some other temple sometime, and I feel they don't feel urgency. See, they are more worried about making more temple bigger, get more devotees. Like Mahaprabhu said, become guru on my order, save the planet, because planet is dying. But the people are more worried about I don't know, increasing their population. Devotees are trying to get a bigger temple. I don't know. Sometimes it makes me kind of sad and mad. I ask what they're doing really. Yeah, Guru Maharaj expressed so nicely. Like it's urgency. I listen Guru Maharaj, he said, wake up yourself, save your soul. Soul is in danger. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, you expressed nicely. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that. I try to preach, but I don't know. I feel like I'm spinning, just not going anywhere.
I mean, you know, what can I say, Prabhu? Many things will go on in many places, and we're
Yeah.
just trying to tune into the real thing ourselves and cultivate the real thing ourselves, right? You know. So what can I say?
No, thank you.
But
No,
of course it is
guiding us. You
sad,
are
you know.
helping us.
It is
Yeah.
sad. I myself was reflecting on this yesterday and today, you know, just how it is sad to see how sometimes especially when we're involved with the media and the distribution of Krishna consciousness, there's always that risk of just getting stuck on the external side of things, and it's very easy to deviate, you know. So we want to keep ourselves in good association. We want to keep ourselves in good association, have some good advisors around us, some big brothers and sisters and aunties and uncles who can help us stay on the right track, right? And Danny's saying, I wanted to say thank you. Tomorrow's Gita Jayanti. So what better way to celebrate? Jai. Jai, 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 jai. All right. Any last words from anyone? Should we close there?
Not last words, but I just wanted to comment on the melody Jayadeva was switching, because I only know the one way, and then there was another melody, and actually I'm familiar with it because it sounds like the Arati melody from the Shivananda satsangs. Do you remember that? So I never knew that melody, and I found it very, very beautiful. So thanks for leading us there.
Yeah, we're all very happy to hear Jayadev's beautiful chanting. All right.
You were gonna say something?
Oh, was I? Oh yeah, it's actually a little different. That one. I'll go. I like that art. They have an arati to like everyone, all the different deities, Shiva. But what's funny about it is it keeps coming back to Krishna throughout the arati.
She's been to Shiva.
Oh yeah, you've been to a Shiva. So the arati, what I noticed about them that's interesting is Krishna's named most in that arati. Like more, they say Gopal. They say what do they say? Krishna Guru, Jagat Guru.
Don't get it started. Once it gets in your head, it doesn't go.
Yeah, I won't start it though. It'll get stuck in your head. Yeah, that's a melody I've heard a lot in India, ISKCON. A lot of the Indian population has that melody for Gita, but there are a bunch of different melodies for Anushtup meter, and that's just one of them. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, beautiful. Panchakalpadribhyascha kripa sindhu bhyevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Raksha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai, Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Haribol. Have a beautiful weekend. Oh, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Christmas is coming up. Merry Christmas. Hope you all have a Krishna conscious.
Hare Christmas. Hare Christmas.
Happy solstice. Today's solstice.
Yes, this is what we're going to say. We celebrate solstice. Happy solstice, Mataji, in class.
Oh, you know, our Gurudev had so much appreciation for Jesus. He's a Vaishnava. You know, Jesus. He expresses beautiful Vaishnava sentiments, and he's perfectly exemplifying the principles of humility, tolerance, and respect. You know? And one of the most incredible moments in what we hear of Jesus is that, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj talks about this, that moment when he's being taken to be crucified, and he throws that glance at Judas, right? But we hear that it was not a look of accusation, but it was in the way Srila Sridhar Maharaj described it. He was actually in this incredibly magnanimous heart of Jesus. He's saying, please forgive me, right? Like, I'm using you. You know, your name is going to be black for eternity, and you're actually enhancing my brightness. You're actually the one being used in this, right? And Judas saw that look and he went mad, right? For his betrayal to be treated with such love. No, he went mad to see that. What a high level of love, compassion, mercy. Right? So we can all celebrate, the example of Jesus and the principles that he stands for at this time. All right. Haribol.
Haribo, thank you. Dandwas, Shakaji. Dandwas, everybody. For the devotees.
Shaka Didi ki jai.
Jai.